Welcome back to Sir Boats Yacht, the channel where we dive deep into the stories of legendary yachts from history and the modern day. Today we are going to explore one of the most iconic sailing yachts ever built, the Atlantic of 1903, a name that has gone down in history as not just a beautiful schooner but as a record breaker, a symbol of the golden age of yachting and a vessel that still captures the imagination of sailors and enthusiasts more than a century later. The Atlantic is remembered as one of the most extraordinary sailing machines of its time, designed by William Gardner and launched in 1903. This three-masted schooner was built for Wilson Marshall, a wealthy yachtsman who wanted something both luxurious and competitive. What came out of the shipyard was a masterpiece, a yacht that combined power, elegance and endurance in ways that had not been seen before. Let us begin with the key features of the Atlantic. At first glance, the sheer size of the yacht was astonishing. For a schooner, she measured an impressive 185 feet in length overall, with her long sleek hull cutting gracefully through the water. The black painted hull gave her a distinctive and commanding presence. Her masts towered above the deck, reaching toward the sky and carrying a massive sail plan that allowed her to harness the wind with unmatched power. She carried more than 18,000 square feet of sail, which was enormous by the standards of her day, and even by modern comparisons this remained staggering. The hull itself was designed for both speed and stability. William Gardner had a reputation for combining traditional craftsmanship with a scientific understanding of hydrodynamics. The Atlantic was narrow for her length, which reduced drag and allowed her to move quickly across the ocean, yet her deep keel provided the stability needed to handle the massive forces of her rigging and sails. This combination made her not just fast in light winds but also capable of powering through rough seas without losing her balance. In terms of design, the Atlantic was a perfect example of form-meeting function. She was built at the Townsend and Downey shipyard on Shooters Island in New York Harbor. Every detail, from her planked decks to the curvature of her stern, spoke of elegance. The long bowsprit extended forward like a lance, giving her an aggressive stance, while the three masts were arranged to maximize both speed and balance. She was a schooner, but in reality she looked and performed like something larger than life. When we talk about interior features, it is important to remember that yachts of this era were not just racing machines, they were also floating palaces designed to impress and provide comfort to their wealthy owners and guests. The Atlantic was no exception. Stepping below deck, one would have found a world of polished mahogany paneling, brass lamps and luxurious fittings. Her cabins were spacious by the standards of the time, offering comfortable berths and fine craftsmanship throughout. The main salon would have been furnished with elegant woodwork, leather seating and even a piano, creating an atmosphere of both refinement and relaxation. The galley and dining areas were compact but efficient, allowing the crew to serve meals even while at sea. Unlike the stripped-down racing yachts of later generations, the Atlantic carried the unmistakable feel of a private yacht that could compete but also entertain. Another point to highlight is the crew arrangement. She required a large and highly skilled team to manage her enormous sails and handle her on long voyages. More than 30 sailors worked aboard the Atlantic, and their coordination was essential. A yacht this large with such an ambitious rig could not function without precise teamwork. The crew cabins were simple and functional, but the pride of sailing aboard such a vessel must have outweighed the cramped quarters. Performance is where the Atlantic truly became legendary. In 1905 she entered the Kaiser's Cup, a transatlantic race sponsored by German Emperor Kaiser Wilhelm II. The race challenged yachts to cross the Atlantic Ocean from Sandy Hook, New Jersey to the Lizard in Cornwall, England. The competition was fierce, with some of the fastest yachts of the age taking part, but it was the Atlantic, under the command of the famous skipper Charlie Barr, that would etch her name into maritime history. During the race, the Atlantic demonstrated not only her speed but her endurance. She managed to cross the Atlantic in just 12 days, 4 hours, 1 minute and 19 seconds. This was a stunning achievement at the time, setting a record for the fastest transatlantic crossing under sail. That record would stand unbroken for nearly 100 years, until modern racing yachts built with advanced composite materials and modern sails finally surpassed it. But for a wooden schooner built in 1903 to hold such a record for almost a century tells you everything you need to know about her performance. One of the secrets to this speed was the balance of her design. Her long narrow hull sliced through the waves efficiently, while her vast sail plan allowed her to capture every ounce of wind. Charlie Barr and his crew pushed her hard, driving her day and night across the Atlantic with incredible determination. The result was not just a victory but the creation of a legend. The image of the Atlantic in full sail charging through the ocean is one of the most iconic in yachting history. Now let us look at her unique selling points. What made the Atlantic stand out from her peers? First was her size and elegance. Very few yachts of her era combined such immense scale with refined design. She was not just a racing schooner, she was a statement of wealth, power and technological progress. Second was her record-setting performance. As I mentioned earlier, she became the fastest transatlantic sailing vessel of her time, and held that honor for decades. This made her famous worldwide. Third was her dual nature. She was both a luxurious yacht for private use and a competitive racing vessel. Few yachts could claim to be successful in both arenas, yet the Atlantic managed it with ease. And finally, her legacy has endured. While the original Atlantic was sadly broken up in the 1980s, her story was so powerful that a full-sized replica was built in recent years, allowing people to once again see and even sail aboard a recreation of this historic yacht. For casual viewers who may not be familiar with sailing terms, it is important to emphasize that the Atlantic was not just a boat, she was a technological marvel of her time. Imagine trying to control thousands of square feet of canvas sails with only ropes, pulleys and human muscle power. That is what her crew achieved, and to cross an entire ocean in less than 2 weeks without engines or modern navigation tools is something that deserves admiration even today. From a broader perspective, the Atlantic also represents the golden age of yachting, when industrial wealth allowed shipyards to push the boundaries of design. Owners like Wilson Marshall were not content with ordinary vessels, they wanted the biggest, fastest and most luxurious yachts that money could build, and designers like William Gardner rose to the challenge, creating yachts that still inspire awe over a century later. For us at Sir Boats Yacht, the Atlantic is more than just a schooner. She is a reminder of what human skill, determination and ambition can achieve. Her story blends art, engineering, adventure and competition all in one, and while the world of sailing has changed dramatically since her launch in 1903, the values she represents still resonate: the love of the sea, the pursuit of speed and the appreciation for craftsmanship. As we wrap up this review of the Atlantic, let us reflect on what makes her unforgettable. It is not just her length or her sails or even her record. What makes her legendary is the combination of everything. She was a yacht that looked beautiful, sailed fast and carried with her the aura of greatness. Every yacht enthusiast knows the name Atlantic, and that alone speaks volumes. So next time you think about the greatest yachts in history, remember the black-hulled, three-masted schooner that crossed the Atlantic faster than anyone thought possible. Remember the crew who worked tirelessly day and night. Remember the elegance of her wooden decks and brass fittings, and remember that this was not just a yacht, it was a floating legend. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the story of the Atlantic of 1903. If you enjoyed this deep dive into maritime history, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Sir Boats Yacht for more tales of classic and modern yachts. We have many more legends to cover, and each one brings its own blend of beauty, history and inspiration. Until next time, keep your sails full and your course steady.